Good day to all, comrades and friends. This is Global Weekly News, serial number 16. First, we go to movement for release of Julian Assange. Australian journalist and WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is in London Belmarsh jail for more than 3 years. Exposure of war crimes by United States in Iraq, Afghanistan, etc. Well, that is the only crime committed by Julian Assange. It is not a crime, it is a good thing done in the interest of humanity. Now in jail, he is suffering from mental and physical ill health. He has tested positive for COVID-19. The case for release of Julian Assange is in the court. Meanwhile, British Home Secretary Priti Patel has given approval for extradition of Julian Assange to United States of America. United States has framed 18 charges, 17 under American Espionage Act. If Assange's trial takes place in United States court, he will get a jail sentence of 175 years. On 8th October, there was a human chain encircling United Kingdom Congress building, that is Westminster Palace. 5,000 to 7,000 people took part in the human chain, demanding the release of Assange. There were solidarity demonstrations globally, including Morocco, Brazil, Australia and USA. Stella Maris, wife of Julian Assange, said the imprisonment of Assange is politically motivated. Assange was very much enthused by the protests for his release all over the world. The Labour Party MP Jeremy Corbyn, well, he took part in the human chain and he said that millions of people globally are supporting Assange. On 7th October, demonstrations took place. The call was given by International People's Assembly, a forum of more than 200 progressive organizations. IPA, International People's Assembly, conducted online campaign on 8th October. On 8th October, a demonstration was held before Washington Judicial Office for release of Assange. US activist Claudia La Cruz said that CIA and pro-US agencies use various oppression to establish US hegemony. Second, we go to the severe economic crisis which the United Kingdom is facing. The UK, the Great Britain, is facing its worst economic crisis since 2008 and 2009. The Conservative government has reacted by announcing pro-rich and pro-corporate policies. Economic analyst Anundiyo Chakrabarti, in his interview to People's Dispatch, the world medium, said the following: there was once a lady called Margaret Thatcher in helping the rich in Great Britain. No one could match her. Now a lady called Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister, is a greater welfare snatcher. She takes away whatever welfare measures are already in practice. She is following the exactly same economic policies of Margaret Thatcher. She has taken a step back, but she is still defending them. In 1980s, Margaret Thatcher took a series of economic decisions to change the course of British economy. There are 4 key features. The key features are: 1. Tax cuts for the rich, welfare cuts for the poor, privatization of public assets. Third, and the 4th one is big bang deregulation of the financial sector, including the stock markets. These would turn London into the mecca of global finance over the next 2 decades, where a small number of bankers, brokers and investors would enjoy a life of extreme riches. But if the rich got richer under Margaret Thatcher's Margaret Thatcher's UK economy faltered and tripped over. Britain, which was once the biggest industrial power in the world, got slowly deindustrialized. Once flourishing mining villages and industrial townships became centers of unemployment and crime. When Thatcher came to power, manufacturing accounted for 30% of Britain's economy. Now it accounts for less than 10%, and this has shown up in the distribution of income in the United Kingdom from the 80s. The share of the richest 10% has risen dramatically, while that of bottom 50% has fallen. They almost slipped below the richest 1% in terms of share of income till global financial crisis of 2008-2009. Stalled the process of things had continued like that. By now, the top 1% as a whole would have earned more than poorest 50%. UK's economic policies meant that UK became increasingly dependent on imports for even everyday goods. From being one of the biggest exporters of goods, it became one of the biggest importers, so much so that in 2020, out of 127 countries, Britain was ranked 126 in terms of balance of trade, making it one of the two biggest import-dependent nations in the world. But for most of the 2000s, the first decade of 2000s, the urban middle class didn't feel this because of the massive boom in stock markets and real estate prices that took place, which caused a general wealth effect amongst the middle class. But when global financial crisis hit the United Kingdom in 2008-9, it simply could not recover because it was so heavily dependent on financial services and real estate in its economy. The unemployment and despair caused by United Kingdom's continuous economic slump helped create widespread support for the Brexit campaign, that is Britain's exit policy from the European Union, that is called Brexit campaign in 2016. Working class people celebrated the break with Europe. They blamed immigrants for their unemployment and Europe for causing Britain's factories to shut down. But Brexit has made it even worse for UK's economy between 2017 and 2021. Britain's trade and goods and services has declined by 6%, while most large European countries have seen a big jump. Finally, COVID-19 broke the economy completely. Consumers now have to spend 10% more than the last year because of runaway inflation, and many simply cannot cope with anymore. Community kitchens and organizations which give free food are having to deal with many more people looking for free meals, and what remedied it least stress the Prime Minister came up with: tax cuts for the rich, incentives for corporates. It is a throwback to the days of Margaret Thatcher, the days of trickle-down theory, which failed across the world. Now, normally the stock markets love freebies for the rich, but this time they voted with their feet. Why? Because they simply don't trust British economy. They do not trust the British government. The money rushed out of United Kingdom, causing the biggest monthly fall in the pound since 2008, and its value against the dollar had dropped to lowest level seen in many decades. Truss government since has reversed some of these tax cuts, but it is still defending its policies, and the pound and the British stock markets have recovered some of the losses, but nothing has changed on the ground for the average British citizen. And as long as the United Kingdom continues with these disastrous pro-rich, pro-market, pro-privatization policies, nothing will change for the average person. Comrades and friends, the third we go to Europe and the energy crisis. As per a report from United Kingdom, there will be a blackout in the coming winter. Britain receives energy from North Seas. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited the Gulf. Scholz and other European leaders talk so much about human rights, but Scholz met the higher officials of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has a ghastly war on Yemen. We will come to that later. Scholz said that Germany is having normal political relations with Saudi Arabia. Olaf Scholz said that Germany will be helping development of the region. Energy determines foreign policy of Europe. Europe is getting natural gas through Nord Stream pipeline project from Russia. Due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, US and European Union has imposed sanctions on Russia. European countries stopped gas imports from Russia. Now they look upon the Gulf for fuel supplies. In Norway also, large amounts of natural gas available, but the price is much more than the Russian price. European countries tried to bring liquefied natural gas from Saudi Arabia. For this, they have to invest heavily on creating liquefied natural gas terminals. Saudi Arabia is now jubilant about entering world trade. Saudi's human rights violations are not there on the table now. US President Joe Biden visited Saudi Arabia in July of this year. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries is OPEC. OPEC Plus includes Russia and some other oil producing countries. OPEC Plus, after its secretariat meeting in Vienna, has declared on 5th October that they will reduce per day crude oil production by 2 million barrels. This decision is because of the uncertainty in oil market and global economy. All the major oil producing countries, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Angola, Venezuela, Russia, etc. are members of OPEC+. Due to COVID-19, the demand for oil got reduced. From 2020 April, OPEC Plus drastically reduced oil production. The reduction announced on 5th October is equal to 2% of global daily supply. This is a blow to G7 rich countries because G7 has put a cap on price of Russian oil. Due to reduction of oil production by OPEC Plus, price of crude oil will increase globally and Russia will get more earnings. The price of crude oil was $120 per barrel in June and the price came down to $90 per barrel in September. Now the price is again increasing. Stoppage of oil imports from Russia has forced Europe to seek the alternatives. USA is not ready to renew the nuclear agreement with Iran. US has imposed sanctions on another oil producing country, which is Venezuela. Interim elections will take place in USA. If oil prices increase, Joe Biden will face challenge from the Republican Party. To reduce price of oil, Joe Biden visited Saudi Arabia in July. A report from the White House says that US will release 10 million barrel of oil, that is 1 crore barrel of oil, from its oil reserves. US oil reserves have drastically reduced in the past decades. In Germany, people are agitating for Russian gas through Nord Stream pipeline project. After a few days, this pipeline was sabotaged. Nobody knows who did this. From 29 September to 1st October, there were protests in France. In Great Britain, Belgium, Holland, Serbia, etc., people and the working class are on agitation path against the rise in cost of living. They are demanding wage revision on par with the rise in prices of essential commodities, reduction in working hours, improvement in working conditions. Private energy producers are making hell of a profit, large profits. The new economic policies followed over the decades led to the deterioration of living conditions of the working class all over the world. Since European countries are allies, friends of United States, they are facing difficulties in gas and oil imports. The economic analysts point out that Europe is going to face recession in the coming months. That is a stagnation in industrial production and stagnation in sales, etc. Recession in the coming months. More and more people take part in the demonstrations for protecting their living standards. The vital question before us, whether the leftists and the trade union movement will channelize the discontent of the people and advance, or whether, as usual, the rightist forces will take an upper hand in diverting the attention of the people from real life issues to reactionary and divisive slogans like hatred against immigrants and the minorities. Fourth item is elections in Brazil. On 2nd October, first round of elections for the post of president, governor, parliament and assembly had taken place in Brazil. It was expected that Lula da Silva of the Workers' Party will get elected as president by polling more than 50% votes, but he could get only 48.4% votes. His opponent, Jair Bolsonaro, got 43%, 10% more than the predicted opinion polls. Second round of elections will take place on 30th October. Bolsonaro, in many of his speeches, talked about the inefficiency of opinion polls and their uselessness. So therefore, many people who wanted to vote for Bolsonaro, they did not turn out for the opinion polls. It is embarrassing for the voters to reveal about their voting intentions. Second round of campaigns are taking place. Heated campaigns are going on. Already Bolsonaro is spreading fake news about Lula da Silva. Fake news are coming in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Bolsonaro is against abortion. Lula da Silva supports legalizing abortion rights. There were 11 candidates in the first round. Second round is between Lula and Bolsonaro only. Some of the candidates have turned in favor of Lula now, so we can expect Lula's victory by the poll on October 30. Sao Paulo is the biggest province in Brazil. There, Fernando Haddad is contesting for governor's post. Haddad got defeated by Bolsonaro in the last presidential elections in 2018. Heated election campaign is going on in Sao Paulo. The future of Brazil in the coming years will be decided by which party gets majority in the parliament and the assemblies. Fifth and last item for today is Yemen. For the past 7 years, Saudi Arabia has been launching a ghastly war on Yemen. 350,000 people got killed in the war. Saudi Arabia is engaging mercenaries for the war. In 2022 April, a 6-month peace accord was signed. During this peace period, civilian deaths came down 60%. Cholera spread in Yemen a few years ago. only 25% families of Yemen are getting water facilities. Half the children do not attend schools. Globally, now you can hear voices that United States, United Kingdom shall stop weapon supply to Saudi Arabia. But Joe Biden is defending his sales by saying that weapon sales to Saudi Arabia only for defensive purposes. This is not true. Even for offensive purposes only, Saudi is using US weapons. United Nations is intervening to prolong the peace treaty. With this, we end this week's Global Weekly News. Let us see next week. Thank you, comrades and friends.